Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV. You're here with Amanda Hall Psychic all the way from the Gold Coast in Australia, and I'm pleased to say we've had a tiny little bit of rain where I am this morning before we go to where I know it's late in the afternoon where you are in the Northern Hemisphere, but I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everybody that's been sending messages and sending money and sending support to Australia's bushfires. The bushfires, unfortunately, have not ceased to be raging around the country at the moment. We've got a couple of them under control, but there's still many of them around the nation burning. And for those of you that have been watching it on the TV, and yes, it is a horrific catastrophe, and it's actually been burning, a lot of these fires have been burning since early September, late last year. So it's a very, very long fire season here in Australia, and we've had a lot of loss of life, we've had a lot of loss of property, but more importantly, we've had a huge loss of our native animals, and a lot of them now are heading towards the extinct list, particularly the koalas and a number of other species. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank everybody that has sent their support, their money, their love, their positivity, and please keep praying for rain. We desperately need it to put these fires out. And it's been an overwhelming response that how the world has responded and sent their firefighters to help us fight this terrible fire that's raging many states in Australia. So let's get on to something more positive, and let's look at the Secret Tarot card of the week. Now, this is the card from the Secrets of Tarot set. Now, it's the Four of Cups. Now, the Four of Cups can sometimes be a little bit of an ambiguous card because it is the card of money fluctuation. And I'm sure many of us have experienced that over the last few weeks as we're starting to get over the spending that we did in the months of November and December leading up to the festive season. But it can also be on a secondary meaning, being offered something that you may or may not want. You can see the gentleman sitting there under the tree contemplating his future, looking at things, wondering what his next move is, and he's got his arms folded. Now, that's the part of being offered something that you may or may not want. He has one cup coming out of the clouds, so there's the offer, but he also still has three cups full and upright in front of him. So indicating he's in a good position of choice. So he has the opportunity to sit there and contemplate his navel a little bit and decide whether or not what's being offered is where he wants to go. So I think it's a time when we can all start to really focus on what is it that's being offered to us in our lives. Do we really want it? Are we ready to move forward? Is this where we want to proceed for 2020? And it's, you know, we're still getting our head around and our tongues around the word 2020. And something that interesting crossed my desk this week too that I want to share with you. And if you're like me, you're sort of oblivious to a lot of these things. Someone said to me, when you're writing the date on something, don't just end it in a /20, because that means it can be altered where someone can add a 19 or a 10 or a 01 or whatever to the end of the 20, where we tend to abbreviate it. So I'm now going to be in the habit of when I'm signing something, I'm going to be putting the full year 2020, not just putting in the abbreviated version of 20. So we're going to move on to the soy candle of the week this week. Now, this week I've chosen the patience candle. Now, you might ask, why would I choose a candle like that so early in the year? Well, the reasons why I've done this, I think we can all do with a little bit more patience at the moment. I think there's many of us that feel quite frazzled, that we've just coming out of the tail end of the full moon in Cancer. And it's been a very, very powerful full moon this year. It's been an eclipse as well. So there's been a lot of stuff that's come to the surface, a lot of old hidden things have surfaced. Emotions became very strong and very intense and even exaggerated. And people were inboxing me and letting me know that they'd heard from people they hadn't heard from in a very, very long time. And, you know, things were finally discussed and put on the table and air was cleared and people sort of made apologies and sort of wanted to sort of really kick the year off into a much more positive, open and transparent way. Now, during this last week too, we've had that terrible tragedy where that plane was shot out of the air and all those people lost their lives. That was just a terrible tragedy. It had nothing to do with the full moon. I want to be very clear on that. But we do all need to have more patience, I think, with the things that are going on in our lives and the people that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, I think if we can all try collectively as a globe to be a little bit more understanding, a little bit more caring, to not be so impatient, and just sort of say, okay, all right, I was going to bite your head off, but I'm just going to take a breath and sort of say, okay, how can I help you? How can we resolve this? How can we move forward in a more calm way? And I think if we can all adopt a little bit more patience and a little bit more calmness in our lives, I think we can calm down a lot of the very intense planetary configurations that are going on at the moment, where everybody seems to be in such a hurry and they're sort of trying to sort things out. And I appreciate there's a lot of stuff going on politically around the world, and lots of things are changing and lots of things are coming out of nowhere, that we are all feeling quite overwhelmed and we need to deal with a lot of stuff. But I think now is the time we can show our fellow man a little bit of patience. For those of you that don't want to work with a big candle, you can always buy a gift box set where you can make it up individually with what you want. And this week I've chosen the Good Luck candle to bring in some good luck for the new year. I've chosen the Simply Tarot candle for those of you that are working with your psychic work. And that can, a Simply Tarot candle can enhance anything, whether it's numerology, astrology, tarot reading, angel cards, or just listening to your guides. And the final candle I've chosen this week is the candle of love. I think love makes the world go round, and I think we could all do with a little bit more love in our lives at the moment, because loving energy gives us the patience to deal with things that we find intolerable, or the things that are making us a little bit frayed with our temper, or not having the patience to deal with people. So love is what makes the world go round. So that now brings me to what's actually happening astrologically. Now, I know we touched on that we're on the final hours of the full moon in Cancer, and this is the first full moon for the year. And yes, with the full moon being back in Cancer, it's back in its own sign. So yes, it was at home and it felt comfortable. And this is one of the major reasons, I think, why it was sort of such a powerful, exaggerated, intense full moon, because it was an eclipse as well. So when we have eclipses, it seems to amplify everything or exaggerate it or take it out of its normal realms. So it was a time where people were sort of feeling like they really had to sort out things. If there was issues that had been left undone, or if there'd been an argument that happened, say, even 20 years ago, it was now back into the forefront of their mind that they had to take responsibility. They had to do something about mending those fences. And it's really important for those people that reached out, and some people would have had a positive outcome and some people would have had a not so positive outcome. But what I want you to look at now is, even if you didn't have a positive outcome, look at it as being on the score that you tried. The issue is now complete. It doesn't matter what the end result was, that you reached out, you tried to resolve it, and now we can put it to rest. Now we can release it and let it go and say nothing more can be done. And that's the positive message, I think, out of the full moon in Cancer, for the first full moon for this year and the first eclipse for this year. So moving on to what's actually happening transit-wise, we still have a plethora of planets sitting in Capricorn, and we will have for some time. We still have the Sun sitting in Capricorn, holding hands or conjunct Saturn, the planet of discipline and restriction and structure in our lives, and he's also holding hands or conjunct Pluto, the planet of transformation. Now, all of these three planets are sitting in Capricorn, which is an earth sign, which rules big business, it rules governments, it rules official things in our lives, but it also governs anything earthy, and that means the earth that we walk on. So this is why we're going to see and hear a lot more about climate change over the coming months. And yes, it's amplified at the moment with the Australian bushfires, and we're starting to see protests around the world where people are sort of starting to stand up for what they believe in, and sort of trying to get people to listen in high places to say, this is not acceptable. We as a globe are not going to put up with this. We want to do something about it. Now, it's very, very interesting also, because we do have another planet in Capricorn, but one that's not holding hands with those three planets, and that's the planet Jupiter. Now, Jupiter's the planet of expansion, opportunity, higher mind, religion, the ability to be able to expand things right out. Now, sometimes Jupiter's role is sometimes, even though we are looking for expansion in our lives, sometimes the expansion comes in the form of cutting things out or releasing things that no longer serve us. And by doing that, we are able to then be able to work with the opportunities of being able to bring in new things, of being able to say, this is great, this is what's happening, this is where I'm going, this is what I need. And by fine-tuning or pruning my lives and removing things that I've worked with, I've dealt with that are obsolete or complete, that then I can open my world right up to where I need to be going. So it's a very, very positive thing that Jupiter has just started his early transit into Capricorn. He will be there for approximately another 11 months. Now, Jupiter is also making a very, what we consider a wide aspect or a wide trine to Uranus, the planet of the unusual and unexpected in Taurus. Now, when I say wide, it means it's still got a little way to go before it reaches its full potential. But what I'm excited about with Jupiter trining Uranus means that I think we've got opportunities now to get some real breakthroughs, to have situations where people haven't been listening before or governments haven't been acting, that finally we're on the home stretch here where we're starting to break down those barriers and people are starting to put their listening ears on and saying, wow, okay, this is what they mean, this is what they want. So this can only get stronger over the coming months as Jupiter makes a tighter aspect to Uranus in Taurus. So I think it's a very exciting time to say, finally, we might start to get some action on climate change. And if this has had to happen because of this catastrophe, well, then so be it. This is the way that it's had to be. Sometimes things have to happen so that it forces our hand to go another direction. Now, before I wrap up our glimpse around the universe, I just want to have a little talk about the planet Venus of love and affection. Now, Venus has just moved into Pisces, and this is very exciting as far as I'm concerned, because Venus is the things that we love to do in our lives. It's the things that put a smile on our face. It's the things that make us happy and dance around with excitement. The fact that it's just moved into Pisces is sort of such a gentle, sort of flowing sort of energy. So for many of us, it's going to be a time where we're going to be looking at things that are going to put a smile on our dial, whether that's art, whether it's walking in the rain, whether it's going to spend some time with some friends, or just going and having a coffee, or just being with ourselves, or learning something new that's going to bring us some peace, some happiness, that's going to put a smile on our face. It's a lovely transit. So it's a time, yes, some people will fall in love, but I don't want to look at it as just being that. I want to see it as being something that's going to bring something loving and positive into our lives. So we're going to take our first caller, and it's Sarah in Red Bluff, California. Are you there, Sarah?
Yes, I am.
If you have a question that I can work with, please, Sarah.
I just wanted to know if a new job and a new move was in the future for me.
Okay, let's have a look at that for you, Sarah. It's interesting because they're taking me back to last year, where I think from about August last year, you really started to become restless. And you really started to sort of look at your life as a whole, didn't you? Sort of dissecting it up, looking at it, sort of saying, this doesn't suit me anymore. I feel as if it's time for a change. But at that point, I think it was just the very early stages of you starting to sort of analyse everything. Is that when you sort of started to feel restless, Sarah?
When?
August last year.
In November, yeah.
Okay, well, that was
towards the end of the year.
August. It was like, from August, it was like the momentum, the energy was starting to build. It was sort of showing you that things were not quite as they had been. It was like time to start sort of analysing things and looking at things. Having said that, yes, I do believe that there's going to be a new job, and yes, I do believe there's going to be a move, but I don't know that it's going to be quite as soon as what you would like it to be, Sarah. I'm being shown March. I'm not seeing much before then, so I'm not sure whether that means that's when the actual move takes place, or when that's when the energy's at its highest, that you'll be sort of really in a position of choice then to sort of make decisions. You've got a job offer. I feel there's 2 job offers on the table, and it'll be a choice between which one you feel fits you the best. I sort of was more inclined for the second one, the second opportunity you get offered. It just seemed to fit better. I mean, both of them are good jobs and both of them would offer you most of the things that you're looking for. But the second role to me just seemed to fit that little bit better. So when you say a move, Sarah, are you looking to move like a long distance away from where you are or just a local move?
Yes, I'm looking to move to Arizona.
Right, okay, because I didn't see you staying locally, so I just wanted to be clear on that. This to me was sort of like I'm packing everything up and putting it on a carrier and off we go, so that's good. So Arizona is a much drier climate, is that right?
Is what?
Is it a much drier climate than where you are in California?
Yes and no. It's kind of weird because the climate change, they've gotten a lot more rain than usual. Right.
Okay.
And here, hot, but really cold winters. So we have the most extreme of extreme.
Okay. No, they were just showing me that with the drier air that would be normally what you'd get in Arizona from the way they presented it to me, it was like it seemed to suit you better, like the climate was better for you all round than where you're currently living, which I'm not going to say has caused massive health problems, but I'm just going to say that you seem to thrive better in Arizona than you do where you are in California. And to me, that's important. If we can find a location that our body's comfortable with, that, that sort of lengthens our life and it gives us, more pleasure, doesn't it, to be able to pursue the things that we like to do. So overall, I think it's a good move. So I'm hoping for you, Sarah, that you're actually packing up and moving by March, but I'd be more inclined to say that's when the offers come in. But either way, it's a good move and you will get there and you will enjoy, the opportunities that are going to unfold for you in Arizona, and that's wonderful. Okay, we're going to leave it there with Sarah. We're going to go to Tyresha in Daytika. Oh, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that one. That's too hard for me. It's in Illinois. So are you there, Tyresha?
Fine. How are you today?
Do you have a question I can work with, sweetie?
Shoot. How do you see my future in, my love life?
Okay, so no one special in your love life at the moment that you want me to look at?
I've been with somebody for 12 years off and on.
Can you repeat that for me, sweetie? I didn't quite hear you.
I said I've been with somebody for 12 years off and on.
Right. Okay, so do you want me to look at them first before we look at the potential of someone else?
Yes, please.
Do you mind sharing with me their first name, if that's possible?
Edwin.
Okay. I feel that's run its course. They're showing me the symbol of that's now complete. I mean, even though I know you've invested a lot of time and energy and wondered where this was sort of leading to with its on again, off again sort of situation, but I just sort of feel towards the end of 2019, it was almost like you threw your hands in the air and said, that's it. I can't do this anymore. I've run out of patience now. I've run out of ideas. I've run out of things to do. And I think you sort of made, even if it was only a decision in your mind, to draw a line under it and say, that's it. Whether your heart's caught up with what emotionally you did on a soul level is a different thing. But I do feel that you are now or will be ready soon to be able to put that into the past. I think where it belongs. I don't think it deserves any more energy or any more input because everything that you've tried still hasn't been successful. It's interesting because they're showing me in the month of April that there's going to be a giant pink heart. Now, usually when they show me a giant pink heart, that's indication of a brand new love coming in. But this is exaggerated. This heart is that big I can't see anything else. So it's obviously going to be somebody that's coming into your life that's going to be so super important that they're going to knock everybody else out of the equation. Anybody else that you've ever cared about or ever been in love with, they've been sort of kicked to the curb, and in comes this new person, and they're just going to fill every nook and cranny of you with their love, and it's going to be a very beautiful relationship. It's interesting because this man has got dark hair, and I'm going to say to you, yes, he is brand new. It's not anybody that you've met previously. But I also feel like you, I think he was in a situation that dragged on for many years with it on again, off again, try this, try that. And it was only less than 12 months ago that he drew a line under it and said, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I've got nothing left in the reserve tank to try and make this relationship work. I've run out of ideas. And then he went through a period of time where he was sort of blaming himself that maybe he could have done more, and then he'd give himself a stiff talking to and say, no, but I tried everything 10 times over and nothing ever made it right. So then he sort of made a promise to himself that he wasn't probably ever going to fall in love again because he'd had such a bad trot of it. And he just sort of decided that he was just going to be happy with being himself. Now, interestingly enough, during the time that he's been just being happy with being himself, so many more of the things that he let go of in his life, the things that gave him pleasure, whether they were hobbies or pursuits or his music or, you know, doing something creative, all started to come flooding back in. And this is a good thing because both of you, I think, have had a very similar experience. So you're both going to be a little bit shy when it comes to the first instance of the two of you meeting, and not sort of jumping in feet first to something, like taking it very slowly on a nice friendship to begin with, get to know each other, have some laughs, have some fun along the way. And then when the love bug bites you and the both of you feel comfortable, then we'll move it into a dating situation. But initially it's just going to be two friends getting together, having coffee, two friends going out for a meal, two friends going to catch a movie, and things like that. And it's going to grow from that, which I think is absolutely wonderful, because when the two of you do decide that you're going to become a couple and this is going to be, you know, a dating situation, then I think it's going to move very fast. And it's like by then there is no question marks. You know each other so well that you're so comfortable to just sort of take it to this next level and move forward, which is wonderful, and it's perfect. I don't feel uncomfortable with it. I feel very, very positive about it. And I feel within 12 months of the two of you meeting, the two of you are sitting down having a discussion about spending the rest of your lives together and, you know, sort of looking at where you're going to live and how we're going to sort out finances and, you know, who's going to do what. And I feel by then, I think he's just taken a new job, which has given him quite a substantial increase in finances. So there'll be discussions about hoping to purchase a property together within the first 12 months of, you know, making this a permanent arrangement. So you've got a lot of things to look forward to. And with this, I think, is also going to come an improvement of your health. Because this previous relationship that was on again, off again was so taxing, it seemed to rob you of your energy a lot of times. There was a lot of times there that you were really sort of having to force yourself to get up and participate in life. A lot of that now will go. I'm not saying we can magically erase any health issues that you've got, but what I'm seeing on an energetic level, that you're starting to become full of energy again. You've got your attitude's changing. You're becoming far more positive. Things that would have bothered you 6 months ago, you just sort of shrug your shoulders and say, well, so what? And that's a good thing, because it means that you're healing and you're healing your soul. So that's really important. I hope that's helped you.
Yes, it did very much, actually.
Good. Yeah, because you've been, you know, through an awful lot, and it's time now for you to be able to sort of say, I don't need this anymore. I don't deserve to be treated like this. And I think that's the important thing, is that, you know, you've recognised that you couldn't have done any more in this relationship. And that's sometimes the hardest thing, is to admit to ourselves that, okay, it is time to draw a line under it. There is nothing more I can do, because we as human beings are taught to sort of, you know, keep going to the bitter end. But sometimes I think we have to say, well, you know what, this isn't working. It's time for me to draw a line under it and put myself first and move forward. So I wish you well, and I know you're going to have extreme happiness with this new relationship. So that's where we're going to leave Taisha. So for those of you that are watching the program that might be struggling with a relationship and wondering whether or not it's the right time to move on, can I just sort of suggest to you, if it's been on again, off again, on again, off again, and, you know, you sort of think that this is time now that you need to make some choices, sit with it, think about it, look at it, and then move out, make the changes when it's right and it's necessary for you. Not always is it the right time for each and every one of us to draw a line under something, but look at your relationship like a cup. When you break a cup and the handle falls off and you glue it back on, you can still see the cracks of where it had previously broken. It's never as strong as it was when you first purchased it. Look at relationships being the same way. A good relationship should not require you to keep trying to patch it back up and glue it back together again. Yes, all relationships have their times where we may not see eye to eye and we have different opinions with each other. But in my experience and being in this sort of work for over 45 years now, if you've got to work that hard at patching something up all the time, then it's not right for you. A good relationship should flow. It should be relatively easy, and the two of you should work together as a team to make it right. We don't always agree with each other, but we can agree to disagree. So I hope that's helped you if you're struggling with a relationship, and don't forget to try and find a little bit more patience in your life this week as we move forward. And again, on behalf of the nation of Australia, we want to thank everybody in the world for your kind wishes, your money, your support, sending us your firefighters. We really do appreciate it here. And most of all, please keep us in your prayers and please pray for rain. We need an end to this catastrophe. So until next week, bye for now and have a great week.